The beauty of decay, the culture, mechanics, and philosophy of the VW rat look. The VW rat look, probably one of the most interesting, misunderstood, and deeply philosophical car genres. It is a visual rebellion wrapped in air-cooled engineering. It is an art form that turns decay into a canvas and makes a virtue out of the inevitable passage of time. This is my attempt at an in-depth, comprehensive video of the VW rat look, exploring its soul and its cultural relevance, and how it sharply diverges from the traditional worlds of hot rods and rat rods. The modern automobile is, designed to combat the passage of time. Automobile makers spend billions of dollars coming up with clear coats, advanced synthetic protectors, all of this to attain a single fleeting goal. Keep that vehicle looking just like it did the day it rolled off of the assembly line. In the mainstream automotive world, perfection is the ultimate currency. A scratch is a failure, a dent is a tragedy, rust is a terminal illness. And then there's the VW rat look. Step into any VW car show and you're going to see little Fuscas with years of sun-beaten paint showing off its patina. You're going to see Brasilias slammed to the blacktop. You're going to see variants with a beautiful tapestry of surface rust and a mismatched door, defiant to what the automotive culture perceives as beauty. And to the untrained eye, these vehicles look like they're just heartbeats from a scrapyard. But to those that are in the know, they are masterpieces of preservation. The VW rat look is not a sign of neglect. It is a deeply philosophical approach to car culture that challenges value, beauty, and consumerism. It really is a movement that embraces the history of the machine, celebrating every scar, blemish, and every layer of weather paint as a badge of honor. To truly understand this mindset, you gotta look past the rust. We have to understand the culture that birthed this automotive movement, the engineering that makes it possible, and the precise philosophical lines that separate a VW rat look from its predecessors, the rat rods and the hot rods, and even the California look. What is the rat look? At its core, the rat look is an aesthetic philosophy focused on the stark contrast between visual decay and mechanical excellence. It is a dual personality captured in steel and rubber. The exterior of a true VW rat look is left intentionally weathered. The ideal specimen would have its factory paint, all sun-beaten, known affectionately in the community as patina. Over the passage and ravage of time, 20, 40, 60 years, the paint becomes weathered, sun-beaten. The lacquer thins and reveals the red oxide primer underneath, or even the bare metal. Where the sun has beamed down on the roof and hood, a beautiful radiance of color emerges. This is not something that can easily be faked. I mean, there are guys that can paint it, but you know the real McCoy when you see it. This is the slow work of time on a vehicle that only UV rays and atmosphere can achieve. However, underneath that weathered shell, the reality is completely different. Because the defining rule of the rat look is the mechanics must be perfect, flawless, laser straight frames, glistening clean engine bays, polished chrome, often superior to how the car left the factory. Its body is laser straight. The suspension heavily modified, oftentimes featuring narrow front beams, drop spindles, and adjustable spring plates to drop the car incredibly low to the ground. This juxtaposition is where the magic happens. The rat look really is a visual paradox. It's a car that looks like it just got dragged out of an abandoned field, but could drive cross-country without missing a beat. A vehicle that scrapes its belly on the blacktop, but features a suspension setup engineered with mathematical perfection. It tells the world that I care deeply about the soul of this vehicle, but I ain't worshiping its skin. You know, the rat look did not emerge in a vacuum. It was born from a perfect storm of economic reality, generational shifts, and a brewing rebellion against the sterile perfection of the mainstream automotive scenes. To trace its origins, we gotta look back to the early 1980s and 90s. For years, the aesthetic look was dominated by two factions, the purist restorers and the California scene. The restorers sought for factory perfection. I've seen it to the point where these purists will scuff at you just because your undercoating isn't the right texture. What does it matter? These guys are crazy fanatics about hunting down rare, old new stock, just to put these Beetles back to factory condition, showroom quality. On the other hand, the Cal look focused on vibrant, monochromatic paint jobs, beautiful interior, de-chromed, and immaculate color-matching interiors. Needless to say, both scenes required immense amount of money. Flawless bodywork and countless hours in a painting booth. As the time went on, the cost of entry into these models skyrocketed, really pricing out the younger enthusiasts that were wanting to get involved. And at the same time, many of these young builders saw the Cal look and the restoring look as sterile. Because a car that is too perfect becomes a museum piece. You can't drive it. Every nick is a worrisome. You can't park it on the street. You're paranoid about it there. And the joy of driving it is completely replaced with the paranoia of preservation. The counterculture responded by shifting the goalposts. Instead of fighting the damage done by decades of wear and tear, they embraced it. Lock it in time. By being influenced by various art styles and philosophies, most notably the Japanese philosophy of wabi-sabi, which finds beauty in imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. A car with a faded door, a dented fender, and a roof stripped of shine carried a narrative. It had lived a life. It survived decades of grocery runs, road trips, and changing owners. Erasing that history with a thick layer of modern bondo felt like erasing the car's identity. This ideological shift evolved into a full-on automotive culture. Enthusiasts actively hunted for barn finds, forgotten field cars, not to restore them but to mechanically revive them, while leaving the body exactly as found, to preserve the fragile, beautiful decay without it becoming structural rot. Builders began wiping down the weathered paint with linseed oil, diesel fuel, or specialized clear coats. The result was a textile, multi-layered finish that caught the light in ways a glossy finished show car could never. The rat look transformed from a friendly budget car to a highly sought-after artisanal statement. Now let's take a look at the triad of custom culture. Hot rod versus rat rod versus VW rat look. To truly appreciate the nuances of the VW rat look, we gotta distinguish it from its American primos, the hot rod and the rat rod. While they all share a spirit of nonconformity, their execution, historical roots, and underlying philosophies are radically different. The hot rod, the pursuit of speed and craftsmanship. The hot rod truly is the grandpappy of automotive customization. Coming from the post-World War II era, young veterans returned home with mechanical skills, a thirst for adrenaline, and access to cheap, lightweight American cars from the 1920s and the 1930s, most notably the Ford Model T and Model A. The philosophy of the hot rod is really simple. Get rid of the extra pounds and add some ponies. See how fast you go on a dry lake bed or an abandoned street. Fenders were tossed in the trash. Roofs were chopped down to avoid air drag, and heavy factory engines were swapped for V8s. As the hot rod scene matured through the 1950s and the 1960s, it became synonymous with high-level craftsmanship. A classic hot rod features flawless bodywork, immaculate paint jobs, elegant pinstriping, gleaming chrome, plus tuck and rolled upholstery. Truly an exercise in optimization, refinement. The rat rod, on the other hand, is an aggressive rebellion. As the hot rod scene grew older, richer, more conservative, mutating into the $1 million trailer queen hot rod, a fierce counterculture emerged. This was the birth of the rat rod. The rat rods are an intentional, aggressive middle finger to those $1 million trailer queens and the old men that keep them wiped down with baby diapers. You know, a lot of times, guys would come to car shows with their hot rod, and it might have not been as nice, it might have not been as well done, but they were proud of it. And some baby boomer comes over with a big bristle mustache and calls it a rat rod. That ain't no hot rod, that's a rat rod. You know, that really hurt the heart. So a lot of guys said, forget you and your fancy little car. I'm gonna build something loud and mean. Built to look mean, dangerous, and intentionally crude, a rat rod rarely uses a factory shell in its original state. Instead, it's a Frankenstein monster of automotive awesomeness. A builder might take a cab of a 1930 Chevy's pickup, chop it all down, throw it on a custom frame, use a beer keg opener as a shifter, and bolt on a massive uncovered V8 and call it good. The aesthetic of a rat rod is heavily influenced by punk rock, rockabilly culture, and post-apocalyptic imagery, such as Mad Max, often painted in flat black primer, featuring exaggerated proportions, and deliberately use unsafe or non-mechanical components in the build, all for shock value, because the purpose of a rat rod is to disrupt, startle, shake up the status quo through aggressive mechanical theatrics. And then the Volkswagen rat look is an art of preservation. It really occupies an entirely different intellectual smarty pants space. Where the rat rod is aggressive and destructive, the VW rat look is preservation and minimalist. First, the VW rat look really respects the factory lines of the vehicle. You will very rarely see a rat look chopped, stretched, or missing a fender. The silhouette of the car really remains exactly as the designers intended. The goal is not to re-engineer the shape of the car, but to honor the history of that individual body. Next, the charm of the VW rat look really revolves around the air-cooled engineering. The packaging of the Beetle with its engine located in the back, torsion bar suspension, and the organic rounded fenders allows for styling choices that really don't work with your American muscle cars. Although that rat look looks pretty damn cool. The iconic stance of the rat look, tucking the wheels deep within the fenders, typically use a narrow front axle. And this is a distinct engineering feat that gives the vehicle a sleek, low-slung look while keeping the body fully intact. Finally, the VW rat look is deeply tied to the culture of utility, embracing vintage roof racks, period-correct luggage, wood skis, and weathered surfboards. Embracing the identity of the Volkswagen as the people's car, a tireless, utilitarian vehicle, a true companion to travel the world, going camping and hauling families. A rat rod looks like it belongs in a wasteland. A rat look looks like it just came back from a 60-year voyage. Then finally onto the engineering of the aesthetics. It is a common misconception that building a rat look car is cheap and easy. Couldn't be farther from the truth. In reality, building a beautiful rat look requires advanced engineering skills of air-cooled mechanics and fabrication. Preserving the patina is an engineering feat more akin to alchemy, because true rust never sleeps. If left unaddressed, surface rust will eventually compromise the structural integrity of the vehicle. Builders of high-end rat look cars spend countless hours trying to lock in the rust, stabilizing that oxidation, using chemical rust converters that stop deep corrosion and preserve the color. Or they coat the entire body in linseed oil, diesel fuel, all to seal the metal away from oxygen and moisture. It takes immense amount of work to make a car look this easily weathered. You know, why does this philosophy endure? Because it is the ultimate anti-consumer statement. The modern society that we live in worships the new. Anything that looks old is disregarded. You lease a car for 3 years. You replace your phone every 2 years. Your shoes, as soon as they're dirty and worn, you throw them out and buy new ones. We are constantly bombarded with the message, new is better. Flawless is mandatory, and aging is something to be feared and hidden. The VW rat look is the ultimate antithesis to this disposable culture. When you drive a rat look car, you are stepping outside the endless loop of consumerism. You are asserting that an object does not lose its value simply because it's old. Quite the contrary. The rat look argues that the aging process gives it the value, character, and soul. This really is an automotive philosophy that looks time in the eye and says, I ain't blinking, amigo. What you gonna do? If you guys like what we're doing, please subscribe, give it a little thumbs up, and leave some words down in the word box. I really thank you guys for stopping by, and like I always say, I'll see you on the flip side. Até a próxima. Ciao, ciao.
Okay.